the first act for today, which is knowledge professor William Banks, who will be teaching us a little something. Let's see what he has in store for us.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for giving me this space tonight to share some of my ideas, but most importantly, the obstacles that stood in my way to come them. As you can see, I like to have fun. My favorite ways to have fun are games and movies. My favorite movie is Tom and Jerry. Now, with Tom and Jerry, I wonder how they got their names. I've heard of a Tom cat, but I've never heard of a Jerry mouse before. And I saw the mouse in my cupboard eating cheese, and I know what you're saying. You should keep your cheese in your refrigerator, William. But then what else would the Jerry mouse eat? Hey, maybe that's where he got its name. Let me introduce myself for a minute to you. My name is William Banks. I am 28 years old, and I am an observational research assistant at the Kambar Institute of Technological and Sciences. My job is to be a genius and to know everything about the things that I know completely. I've won over 2 Nobel Peabodys, and my nameless patents are at this point countless. Additionally, I have been married for a decade to Charlotte Sanchez from the humanities. When Mickey asked me to do this show, let me be honest, I noticed that I felt scared and upset. I am not an entertainer, and I certainly don't know how to make any of you happy. The last time that I was in front of this many people and in front of the TV, my pants fell down. You must realize that I am used to data journals and analytics. The sort of knowledge that helps me define things like this. You might be, but you have to realize that if you walk into any jazz club right now and ask them what's funny, they'll say to laugh, to laugh, to laugh. So this is a fantastic show tonight. So I've taken some of my research and I've re-observed it, and I've new discovered jokes in some of my observations. And some of the things that were funny that were going on when I was making my research for the first time. I hope you leave this tonight being able to, before you know it, thinking for yourself some of the thoughts that I have. But first, my lawyer advised me to share some pictures with you. I do not know this man. This man is not my brother, and I've never seen him before in my life. I do not know what happened to him 2 years ago, and I have not been watching the news, so I have no idea who he is. Is anyone here an only child? Well, I am too. And I've never had another sibling before. So part of my job at the Kambar Institute is to conduct behavioral research observations on only children and noticing their sociological development within and without the laboratory. Basically, all this means is only children come in, and I watch them, and I have to write down what they're doing. I know what you're thinking. Enough science. Get on with the jokes. Well, let me tell you, I've recently thought about this after figuring it out, and it's actually very funny that I do this, because it's sort of like writing the world's most main character novel, like the book with the world records for most main characters per novel. So you see, only children see themselves as the main character of their lives. And this is something that I've actually understand a lot. And the reason that they do that is because no one else is there. So basically, it's my job. Here I am sitting down with a booklet, writing down what all of these main characters are doing. That's 16 main characters that I have to write a book about. You can imagine me sitting there, and one of the kids walks over to the couch, and I have to write down, Harry Potter goes to the couch. And then another character walks by and sits down next to him, but they're the main character too, so I have to say, and then Tom and Jerry walk by and sit next to him. And I'm writing all that down in my book. And I have to write 120 pages before I get to go home. And then there's another person who gets water from the fish bowl. And so I said the cat in the hat just got water from the fish bowl. But so you see, that's in the same book with the other characters. So I end up noticing that my book has 16 main characters. And if you're anything like me, and you love fan fiction, but if you're really like me, then you know that I have to write 120 pages report on it at nighttime. And then if you are me, when you go to publish that report, but then you realize that the Penguin Publishing House has a lawsuit against you. You have a lawsuit from the Penguin Publishing House. That's like being in trouble. So then I entered myself into the study after I realized that I was also an only child. And I do not know this police officer. This police officer has never arrested me in late 2015, and I've never seen what the inside of his vehicle looks like. A little bit about me. Charlotte Sanchez is a wonderful person to be married to. I have to admit that, but we don't always see eye to eye. She cares about people, but I only care about genius things. So one night, so we were laying in bed, and we were laying in our bedroom, in our bed, and I get up in the middle of the night to do research, and then I'm checking. What I like to do is I like to look out the window and look at the planets. But my wife gets out of bed, and she hates when I do research at night, and she thinks that they're just the people on the roof next door outside the window. And I got so mad at her because I'm so sure that they're planets. But she did not think so. So then we broke up and she left. Well, I wish that she would walk back through the door and say she's sorry. But what I wish more is that a visitor would come through the door with a telescope that would allow me to view and observe the planets, and then I'd be able to finally prove to her that there are planets and not the people outside. And I also think about how the telescope can let me control the planets, so I could observe them when there's weather and when there's life forming and during an eclipse. I also know a lot about length contraction. If you don't know what length contraction is, it's when you're moving towards the speed of light and your object gets smaller as you approach speed of light. No one else knows about this. And everyone also knows that it's so difficult to observe on bodies of water, like the lake. So in order to prove how smart I am, I took a boat out on the lake, and I was on a sailboat with my wife, Charlotte Sanchez. And as the boat was, so it was a closed circuit, like a lake. That's why I did a lake instead of an ocean. So a lake is like this, and as the boat would move across like this, and it would have to do these links back and forth. And yes, it would lose velocity as it turned. But that's something I prepared for, because I had my sailboat right here, and I used a telescope to watch as it moved, and I noticed that it got smaller and smaller the faster it moved. And part of that involved how wonderful my wife Charlotte Sanchez is, because without her, I don't know what I would have done. So what she did with her, she knows how to communicate with people. So as the boat would get too fast and I would lose it with my telescope, she would just yell at them to slow down. I've never owned this car. I've never seen that car. I don't know how it broke. I don't know what it hit. Or one morning I woke up and I realized that when things hit each other with force, it doesn't actually hurt who it hit. Everyone says that Isaac Newton went the theory of force, but that's not true. Let me just say that I know exactly that if you hit something going at a very fast speed, it will not hurt the object. And especially if you would just wear your seatbelt, you wouldn't have gotten hurt either. Okay, so this is a picture of my mother, but that is not the grave of my brother that she's mourning. That's maybe her grandparents' grave, or just someone she cares a lot about. I'd like to end this tonight by submitting that I am innocent, and I'm very smart, and I think that my intelligence can prove a little bit about my character. Thank you for giving me this time tonight.